The amount of content that's coming to old school RuneScape in 2025, it's honestly so much it's hard to keep track of. We have an entire new continent with a brand new expansion coming, hundreds of quality of life and balancing changes, a new skill, dead man mode. Honestly, it's kind of overwhelming. Now, although new bosses and raids are going to be the flashiest, today we're going to be covering what I think might be the most impactful update we've ever had, and that is the Summer Sweep Up. Now, the Summer Sweep Up is a vast array of changes targeting combat primarily and drop tables. And next week, we're getting the first batch of it. Now, we don't know exactly what changes from the Summer Sweep Up are coming next week, but we're going to cover the entire blog to start with just in case. Now, as with the last balancing changes, they're once again going to be revisiting elemental weaknesses and NPC defenses. Now, elemental weaknesses have been in the game for over a year now, and they're going to be significantly expanding the list of monsters that have a elemental weakness, as well as changing some NPC defense stats. Now, they've added elemental weaknesses to actually so many bosses, it's kind of wild. For air weaknesses, there's now Zarpus from Tob, the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil, and the Phantom Muspa all have a air weakness. Now, for water weaknesses, we have Jad, Zuck, Tazar creatures, the King Black Dragon, the Great Olm, Krill Sutsaroth, Cerberus, and Skatizo all getting a water weakness. For earth weaknesses, we have the Alchemical Hydra, the Grotesque Guardian, the Giant Mole, and Kraken being the notable ones. And fire weaknesses are so many. We have Vorkath, Briafita, Hespori, the Cowfight Queen, Sarachnis, Venenatus, Spindle, Scorpia, Verzik, and Skeletal Wyverns. Now, in most cases, these are probably not going to replace existing metas, but they will make Magic a much more viable alternative. Sure, people are probably not going to be water surging Zuck, but goddammit, you can do it if you want to. On top of that, they're also making sweeping changes to the expanded defense system for range specifically. Last year, they split range defense into heavy, standard, and light defensive stats. And in the Summer Sweep Up, they're going to be augmenting and expanding these defenses for a wide swath of monsters. The full sheet with all the changes is in the blog post. Now, to make this information more accessible at a low level, they're actually going to be adding in a new low-level monster inspect spell on the standard spellbook, which will reveal stats and elemental weaknesses. Okay, so moving on to some loot table adjustments. Now, whenever they're making adjustments to loot tables, generally that means they are going to be nerfing stuff. And that is mostly true with these adjustments. They're primarily targeting fish, gems, herbs and seeds, and runes. Now, this was sorely needed. Looking at the price of Torsals is a great example. Ever since the addition of Muspa and TOA, Torsals went from the best herb seed drop to one of the worst, just from an overabundance of supply. I think these are amazing changes, and some of them are just dropped in such obscene amounts already. Like Vorkath dropping 1,000 Chaos Runes, like, why? Most of the money from these bosses aren't even coming from these drops anymore, so it's not even going to be a big hit to the profitability of the bosses, but it might help stabilize the prices of these items. TOA is getting the seed drops nerfed by about 40%. Wildy bosses are getting drop rates nerfed for these items, a bunch of Slayer monsters, and Zulrah. Notably though, they are adding in a chance of getting a Huasca seed from the Amascut, which I think is a good idea because Huasca seeds are so in demand right now and they're only essentially dropped from the Huicatl. I am super on board with these balancing changes. I mean, the elemental changes are going to change some metas. For the most part though, they're just adding in consistency across the world, which I think is really important. If something had fire in its name, why is it not weak to water? I mean, you can't have elemental weaknesses but have them not consistent. So I think this actually tackles a lot of the inconsistency issues with the initial system. So probably the biggest rebalance of this entire blog is coming to the Tombs of Amascut. Now, they're making sweeping changes to pretty much all of the rooms in TOA, plus they are also going to be adjusting the purple chance and drop rates. Okay, so let's cover the changes to the rooms first. Okay, so first up here we have Baba. When it comes to pushing the raid level higher at TOA, Baba is the main thing that people complain about. Baba goes from doing chip damage through your protection prayers to absolutely obliterating you through your protection prayers, and there's nothing you can do about it except for use the red X method. Now, they're not going to be removing the red X option, but they are going to be significantly reducing Baba's damage potential when you're praying correctly and doing the mechanics correctly. So firstly, Protect Melee will now mitigate all damage of Baba unless you have a invocation on that would make you take some chip through prayer. There are going to be fewer baboon spawns, and they will get one shot from any style. Now when Baba throws a bit of debris at you, you will now fully shift the damage onto a sarcophagus or the boulder. Personally, I think if you hide behind a sarcophagus, I think it should still share the damage with you, because now, I mean, you don't have to pay attention to the boulders at all. You can just run to a sarcophagus as soon as you see the debris fly at you. Overall, this is going to make this room so much easier, possibly too easy, but I'm willing to wait and see. Now, when people are getting into TOA, Akka is normally the biggest pain point. It has so many mechanics compared to the other pre-bosses and requires gear switching, dodging. It's quite difficult. Now firstly, similar to Baba, protection prayers will now mitigate more damage from Akka. Akka used to suffer from the same problem as Baba, where if you are protecting melee and you're in your mage robes and you were just sitting there tanking Akka, you will get hit so much damage through prayer, causing people to take advantage of the butterfly method. Now probably one of the biggest changes here is Akka will now only pray against the style he's attacking with. For one, making this a lot clearer, but also allowing you to attack with multiple styles per transition. So this is amazing because now you are no longer forced to attack Akka with your Trident of the Seas if you don't want to. They're making the Stay Vigilant invocation a bit easier, making so he'll only swap styles when he's using a special attack. So it's more consistent, and you'll always change styles in the same predictable order. And finally, the Enrage phase, or the Come phase, has had the amount of orbs reduced. Okay, Kefri, small amount of changes here, but probably the biggest one is the Arcane Scarab, or the thing that blows you up if you don't kill it in time, will now move after a certain amount of attacks, regardless of whether you hit. For those who don't know, when the Arcane Scarab moves, it resets its damage cycle, so as long as you attack it 3 times or whatever, you'll never tank damage from it as long as it moves. For Z-Back, they are making essentially no changes. They are planning on making a few tweaks to the wave mechanic, but I don't think they've landed on what they're doing yet. And finally, they're once again making a change to the TOA monkey room. Mostly they're making it so the Cursed Baboon and the Baboon Shamans now will always take a max hit from ranged, and they're straight up just cutting 2 waves off of the monkey room. So that will just straight up make it significantly faster. They're also just straight up lowering the amount of water you need for the Path of Krondis, and they're lowering the amount of hit points on the obelisk, so you don't need as high a mining level to get a 1 down in the Akka puzzle. So all these changes are going to make the raid easier, faster, more popular most likely, but tagged along with that is going to be a pretty significant nerf to purple rates, especially at higher invocation levels. If you guys remember, way back when TOA came out, in the first couple of weeks, purple chance did not scale so aggressively with raid level. They made some tweaks, and all of a sudden, pushing to higher raid levels gave you significant increases in purple chance. Now, it took them 3 years, which, man, I wish they had dealt with this, 6 months after the content came out. Now is better than never, I suppose. So they're making 2 significant changes here. Firstly, they are drastically reducing the scaling at higher invocations. They gave a nice comparison graph here. Pretty much anything 300 and below is unaffected, so you'll have the exact same purple rates as before. But scaling it up higher will now give you significantly less purples. Like a 500 is giving you like a 7.5% chance, where previously it was over 13%. Now the reason they're doing this is probably overall to just reduce the amount of purples coming into the game, but also specifically fix the amount of light bearers and fangs coming into the game. These items are dirt cheap, even though they're some of the most powerful items from this raid. So in addition to straight up reducing the purple chance, they're also going to be decreasing the chance of getting a light bearer or fang at higher invocation levels. This actually has an interesting combination, making it so that although your chance of getting the purple to 500 is now significantly less than before, but your chance of getting What was one of the least valuable drops is also a lot lower. But this also has a knock-on effect that now shadows are more common at higher raid levels, which means it's still worth pushing that invocation level higher because the premium reward, the shadow, is more likely, even if your purple chance is much lower. It's a little confusing, but essentially it's still worth pushing the invocation level as high as possible, even if it's not directly reflected in the purple chance. Personally, I am a huge fan of this change. Again, I wish we'd had it years ago, but TOA needed some changes to purple chance. Now, it's not even a sure thing that this will increase prices, because if the raid becomes a lot more popular, just straight up more people are going to do it, but it also was the most popular raid before, so we will see. But this has a significant reduction in the amount of fangs coming to the game, especially at higher invocations. For example, previously at a 500, it would get a fang every 26 raids on average, and now it's every 72, which is a huge change. Now finally, to add in a stopgap for Ironman especially, they're going to be adding in a new jewel for you to attach to your Karis, turn it into a viable main hand weapon somewhere between the Zami Hasta and the Fang, which could be usable within the tombs. On top of that, they're also making the untradeable jewels more common and adding in some determinism in obtaining them. Thank God for that, because why are these jewels so rare? I don't understand. You need the yellow gem to push raid level higher, so it's... Anyway, they're fixing it. It's all good. So that's pretty much it for the Tombs of Amascut, but there are a huge number of other changes to other PVM encounters in RuneScape. The first one is Fasani's Nightmare, where they're making a couple really significant changes to it. They're straight up just removing one of the phases from the fight, making it significantly faster to kill, and they are not going to be adjusting the drop rates to compensate, so this is just a direct buff to the rate of getting uniques from Fasani's. While the drop rate will be the same, the kill speeds will be significantly faster. Now, another hugely positive change here is one complaint that most people had is how long it takes to run back to the Nightmare from a bank, and it takes forever to get the Sleepy Tablet for the teleport. Now, firstly, they're going to make the Sleepy Tablet 4 times more common, make it roughly around a 1 in 25, plus they will have dry protection for it as well. And in addition, when you die at the Nightmare or Fasani's Nightmare, you'll pop out right outside, similar to Yama. Now, I'm still not convinced Yama was an oversight, but maybe they're trying out a new death mechanic, making it essentially so you don't have to run all the way back to claim your items and then rebank anyway. Super positive change in my mind. We have Nex, which is another often critiqued boss. The main complaint is that there's so much unavoidable damage that people call it a brew simulator, and they're not wrong. Tons of chip damage, unpredictable attacks, and almost no downtime to heal up. So what they're going to do to fix that is add in some downtime between the phases that allow players to heal up. For example, damage dealt to Blood Reavers could heal you, but I don't think they've landed on a specific mechanic, but added in time for you to actually heal without feeling bad. They're also going to pretty much get rid of the damage nullifying effect that Nex has on phase transition. Instead, you'll just deal reduced damage as it's transitioning, which I swear to God, Yama has. I have no proof about this yet, but when Yama transitions, you never hit your max hit. They're not drastically changing the fight, but they are trying to make it a bit more approachable and less tedious. The Huicatl was pretty much instantly criticized on release. I personally don't like this boss at all, and it really comes down to so much downtime and so much time smacking the tail with low hits. Just doesn't feel that good. So they're going to be lowering the tail bashing section of the fight, and they're also going to be significantly buffing the premier unique from here, the Dragon Hunter Wand. So here's what they had to do to make it viable. They doubled the bonus damage versus dragons from 20 to 40%, increased the accuracy by 25%, and have allowed it to auto-cast Ancients. Not to mention they are doubling the drop rate of this wand. This will make it competitive against dragons, most notably the Great Olm, but it'll probably have some other meta uses as well. Now next up here we have the Perilous Moons, which honestly is probably one of the most polished pieces of content in Varlamore, so I don't think they needed to change too much. But they will be fixing some hitboxes here, tuning down the tornado phase during the Blue Moon special attack. And they're also even thinking of adding in a new item, a defensive ring that would be kind of like a Ring of Suffering Light, which would sport 20 stab, slash, and crush defense, which would be perfect for the moons. We have Obor and Briafita keys, which are going to be essentially eliminated, or at least you will not need a key to kill the boss. Instead, the drop tables are going to be simplified and reduced, but when you get a giant key, you'll be able to open a chest for an increased loot table. So one of my favorite bosses is Cerberus, but there's no doubt the prayer drain mechanic is super annoying. Essentially, by doing the mechanic correctly, you are penalized pretty much as badly or even worse than just losing hit points, especially if you don't have a spectral spirit shield. So to reduce the prayer drain, you'll now be able to cast Ward of Arceus, which will reduce prayer drain from demons by 30%. This will notably work on other bosses as well. I'm not sure which ones exactly would be useful, but this will also stack with the effects of the spectral. So you could get up to an 80% prayer drain, which is pretty awesome. They're going to make it so the lava pool attack doesn't just somehow smite you as it goes by. I always thought that was pretty annoying. And they're also going to reduce their radius. And the final notable change here is they're going to make Keymaster teleports tradable. Which honestly, I kind of enjoyed the non-tradable teleports. If they just dropped more of them, that would be great. But it seems like we're moving towards tradable teleport scrolls, so whatever. And the final boss they're going to be tackling in the summer sweep up is Duke. Now they're mostly aiming at the prep phase, which I agree is quite annoying. I never really liked prep phases to any boss. Huicoddle as well has a prep phase, don't like it. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to allow you to prep for 3 kills at once, which will increase the kill speeds quite a bit, so they're going to be bumping up Duke's HP by about 10% to compensate. And that's it. That is a ton of boss changes, but wait, there's more. There's quite a few small things they're going to be doing as well that could be quite impactful. So some of the small changes are they're going to be increasing the attack range of the Tenal Sticks of Rylos by 1. Don't know why, but this will make it slightly less clunky to use, but it doesn't really change its use cases yet. Vestige drops from Desert Treasure 2 are going to have an indicator now. I think we can all say that drop system was a bit of a failure, so they're going to kind of just fix it by making it so you just get a component drop, essentially, a visible one, similar to a bludgeon, a noxious halberd, something like that. The 2-minute thrall bonus from the Grandmaster combat achievement is getting downgraded to the Master combat achievement to make it a lot more accessible. Fortunately not by me still. And that is it. The summer sweep up is absolutely massive, and it really just feels like one of the best updates they've ever done, honestly. There's so many changes, and they're all pretty positive, things that people have asked for a long time. Not all of them are flashy, but they will greatly improve the game. Just think of like the Chambers of Xeric refresh they did a while ago. It makes the content so much more enjoyable. I do wish they did these things closer to when the content was released, but everything in here is honestly just a really positive change, and I'm excited to see all of it. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of the summer sweep up. What updates are you most excited for? Are there any you're not excited for? Let me know down below as always. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.